Do you think the AI will ever become sentient as
So
it does?
yeah, I do. I think there's potential. I think there's potential. I think it's so much we don't know right now. So who knows when, how, but I think there's potential for, man, anything man made is, can have error.
Yep.
So hopefully, it's not something that's devastating, but, I wouldn't be shocked.
This is Nosebag Media, and I'm here with.
Venus Rose.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Norfolk, Virginia, and that is within the seven cities. Virginia is on, I would say, the coast. It's one of the biggest, I think, if not the biggest, military naval base in America is where I'm from.
What was it like growing up around like a military base?
I was in the military science program in middle school, which gave me a lot of discipline. Just the culture of the military is very celebrated from where I'm from.
Yeah.
Downtown, we have like a lot of military museums and naval ships and stuff like that. So I grew up going to Nauticas almost every year in elementary school. And I just feel like it's a very diverse place due to the fact that it's a military city. So we have people all around the world, that's living and coming and passing through.
What is House of Creators?
House of Creators is a creative agency that I launched on a professional level in 2018. I conceptualized the concept back in 2014. At the time, me and my roommate, we had a lot of plans with what we wanted to do in the creative industry, and we were living together, and we wanted to create a space for creatives. So we kind of spoke it at the same time. We were like, oh, we want our living space to be like a House of Creators, and that's how the name came apart. So the agency specializes in brand development, brand management, brand partnerships, and just overall creative production and content creation. Yeah, it's like a one-stop shop at this stage. I've been solely running it for it's now 7 years. It's a boutique style agency. I'm looking to expand it in the tech Web3 space. So this is where I've created AI Sector. This is where AI Sector comes into play. I know this is the next question. AI Sector is a creative tech hub to bridge the gap between, creatives of the arts industry and creatives in technology. So right now we are in the community developing standpoint from a very organic angle, which is consistent content on social media to reach creatives and tech savvy and people interested in technology and just the emergence of AI, artificial intelligence. So we did a launch party April 11th, I believe that was the date, during NFT Week NYC, and that we brought out about 300 people. We had an immersive experience where we created a digital magazine to go with the platform, and we just created an atmosphere to bridge the gap and bring creatives from the arts and the entertainment industry and creatives in technology into one space to meet and greet and network and connect.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I see.
it's at a startup phase right now, but it's going to expand eventually into an application.
You said you conceptualized House of Creators in 2014 and launched in 2018.
Yes, I was in college. Yeah, it really wasn't a 4-year focus. I was focused on getting into the entertainment industry, and I was a music artist at the time. So the House of Creators was just another building a community of creatives, and it turned into a business after college. So it was never a plan. I never planned to produce an agency and run an agency. It's something that just happened. I was just doing things that made me happy, which was, creating music. I had photographers, videographers, and designers and working with and producing content around myself and, just utilizing creatives. And I got the opportunity to work at the Source magazine in college and intern, and all the creatives I built from my personal brand and relationships I gave them opportunity at the source whenever I had projects to be published on the source and to work with the mainstream artists. And it just developed into a system in which I was running productions, which made sense to further create an agency from that. Yeah, and it wasn't even thought that I could do this myself. It was people telling me, like, this is what you are. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was literally just having fun. And I just liked producing photo shoots. And eventually got recognition and social media. I was getting talent at the source and I was shooting them outside of the source. For an example, I did an interview with Famous Dex on the source, and then, I reached out to his team to do a photo shoot of him for fun, all self-funded. Mm-hmm. And I utilized my relationships with studios and, the production people I worked with, because it all benefited their portfolios, at the time, 2017. And so Famous Dex was at his peak. Doing a content piece with Dex and put it on the internet, Rico Nasty comes across and sees it, and she likes the work so much. She tells Atlantic Records she wants, me and my team to produce her first album cover, and that's how I got into the record label system. Literally just, funding my own projects for fun, and, it became a career.
What did you do with
MCM?
Yeah. PR.
Yeah, MCM PR agency is a public relations, a boutique public relations agency owned by one of my mentors, and she brings me on to a lot of different projects, PR related projects, and events and stuff that she has, which is also a blessing because I met her at the source, and she has been very helpful with my career and just helping me stay active and helping enhance my skills overall. I've done PR before, but I have never done PR on the scale that she's brought me on with type of clients, and that's how I got into doing PR, with her for cannabis brand, Gumbo, and that's how I got to connect with Low Boys and do PR for Moneybag Yo and YTB Fat. We definitely literally built YTB's Fat press from the ground up. Shout out to Francoise Blanchette, which is the founder and CEO of MCM PR, my big sister, my mentor.
What is the origin and meaning of your name?
So Venus Rose has been my artist name. I actually came up with it probably around 2013. And one day I was just thinking of something that I identify with. I always loved the name Venus. I looked into the name Venus, and I felt very connected. I felt like it resonated with me. Venus, the goddess of love and life, and then the rose is her sacred flower, the flower of the flower of beauty. Yeah. And I put it together in Venus Rose.
And tell us about the work you've done with Central Cee.
Yeah, Central Cee, I was a part of developing his marketing images for his press when he first signed to Atlantic Records. So what was that? I think like around October 2022. So that's what I did with him. I saw the campaign. I saw the images viral online, the images. So that was a great moment. And it was, that's when I really started to work with more international artists. So it's actually, definitely one of my favorite photo shoots. He is a very intelligent young man. He knows what he wants. He's definitely a respectable person.
You kind of already touched on this, but I want to learn more about it. How did the iconic Rico Nasty self-titled album cover come about?
Yeah, this came about, I actually used to take the megabus from DC to New York, and I would actually see her on the bus, and I always thought to myself, one day I'm going to shoot her. I don't really know how, but yeah, so it all happened eventually. I'll probably say like a couple months after, the Atlantic Records reached out to me. I actually applied to work at Atlantic Records fresh out of college, but when they called me, I'm thinking they called me for an interview, but they were like, oh no, we actually want you to produce Rico Nasty's album cover. So the concept, I creative directed it, and I hired all of the contractors that was a part, the stylist, the videographer, photographer, booked the studio. I managed the entire project. and I put together the right creatives to execute the vision. As you see, you know, it was a special team because we created a special piece that is still considered one of her best album covers ever. And in the offices of Atlantic, you know, people still remind me to this day, this is her best album cover. I was in one of the executives' offices at one point and I saw the album cover on the wall, which was very impressive. Like, you know, it was like, wow, my art. But how I conceptualized the whole aesthetic was you know, I like to dig into the personality of artists, and I broke down her aesthetic into four different moods. That's what I would say. And I know it was a Harajuku Barbie doll. I saw the influence of Nicki Minaj in her. I saw David Bowie, the rock star. I saw futuristic appeal with her is what we utilized, the space helmet, and just overall just nasty. You know, she has a very unique aesthetic, a unique image, a unique sound. Like, she's a very unique artist, and I just wanted to, you know, bring that to life, dig more into her. And so what, you know, we accomplished that together. I had an amazing team who really understood my vision. I created the mood board, presented it to Rico and her label, and they just loved it, you know, and it was just on from there. You know, it was really a perfect shoot. Like, it's so crazy for this to be my first major record label project, and it came out perfect. That was alignment. Yeah, she was signed to Atlantic Records actually for 4 years before they dropped the announcement of her, and they dropped the announcement with that album cover that she was signed. Yeah, it was a very big moment. So I didn't realize how much pressure it was to create something so perfect, but it just came out naturally perfect.
Do you think the AI will ever become sentient as does?
Yeah, I do. I think there's potential. I think we, you know, it's so much we don't know right now. So who knows when, how, but I think there's potential. But, you know, anything man-made is, you know, can have error. So hopefully, you know, it's not something that's devastating. But, you know, I wouldn't be shocked.
How is New York?
I think New York is a great space for anyone trying to achieve, you know, a goal in finance, business, tech, or, you know, entertainment. I think it's a melting pot of opportunities. I think New York is just opportunity. That the best way to describe New York is opportunity, because that's all it is opportunity. It's so much opportunity here. It's everything is unreachable. It's like, it's hard to not stay busy in this busy city. And two, it's like, it's so inspiring. Like, just go outside, you'll get some inspo.
What role did you play in Burna Boy's I Told You album release? Yeah,
so I got contacted by Atlantic marketing director over Burna to help you know, create concepts for the album release party, the magazine that launched with the album, along with a music video from a single from the album. And I basically, you know, brought on the right creatives to execute the vision. And the album release party, we produced the immersive visuals for the space, the album release party room, which was the wall, ceilings, and floor, and a few screens. So we created the entire, you know, visual aspect, the visual experience. It was an immersive experience. We created just visual ads for the magazine, along with lyric pages. And then we did edit Cheat on Me the music video. So so me and my team, we worked together to execute that. That was a big project.
Tell us more about what roles you've worked in and what your favorite ones are.
I would have to, I'm mostly the creative director, project manager. And sometimes I style. If I like the talent, or if it intrigues me, I'll do styling. I've done graphic design. I pretty much have worn every hat, but at this point, in my career, I'm more so focused on overseeing, the execution of things. So, but it's over 7 years of projects, because even before the agency, I've been doing this for myself and for for myself first. So I built a brand for myself, and I was able to translate those skills for other people to help them build a brand and identity. I built Venus Rose.
What is your favorite project that you've helped with to date?
I mean, it'll probably be Rico Nasty album cover. That was my favorite because it was the start of my career. It was an exciting opportunity. I was young, a lot younger, and it was just like, manifestation coming to life. Somebody I would watch, that I was a fan of, and seeing her on the bus in Reach, not speaking, but crossing paths again, and being able to be a part of her brand, which also too, because being a business owner is a lot of ups and downs. This is not an easy path at all, but those moments is a reminder to keep going.
What do you think technology will look like in 100 years?
100 years, woo. I have no idea. I don't even want to think that far, because what it's doing now is insane. It's hard to grasp and stomach.
Who are your biggest influences in art and in life?
Music-wise, Prince.
Respect.
Art, my mother. Life, my grandfather.